Flam! Thomas Hicks's pistol slammed into the side of the alien professor's head, sending him sprawling. He'd been called in from retirement. Decades ago, he'd served in linguistics ops for the United Earth government. They said he was the only one who could handle this sensitive mission. A team of insectoid Sheliak linguists had discovered ruins of an ancient space station, abandoned for eons. On it was a language more complex and advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. If the Sheliak unlocked its secrets, it could tip the balance of power across the galaxy. So the UEG reactivated Hicks, pulled him out of the quiet academic life he'd built. Now he was on an alien world, pistol-whipping a professor, ready to complete his mission by any means necessary. "Tell me everything you know about the Primus language," Hicks growled, pressing his gun under the Sheliak's thorax, "or the next bullet goes between your bug eyes." The terrified alien clicked and chittered. "Please don't shoot, I'll tell you what we've uncovered." The alien clicked in its native language, then switched to English. "The equations are hidden throughout the text, woven into the grammar and word patterns. It's a map." Quasar, the lead Sheliak linguist, stepped forward. "A previously uncharted star system. If we put the equations together, they give coordinates." Hicks's eyes narrowed. The UEG needed to know about this now. As the Sheliak team continued deciphering the mathematical language, Hicks slipped away to contact Admiral Blackwell on an encrypted channel. "Admiral, it's Hicks. The Primus language, there's more to it. The Sheliak found hidden equations that map to an unexplored system. I suspect it could lead to advanced tech." "Understood, Hicks," Blackwell replied, his voice gruff. "This could be the edge we need. Stay embedded with the Sheliak. Learn everything you can about that system and what might be there." Hicks cut off as Zor, one of the Sheliak linguists, entered the room. The thin insectoid eyed Hicks suspiciously before turning to his work. Hicks quickly ended the transmission. As the days stretched on, Hicks and the Sheliak team worked tirelessly to unravel the secrets of the Primus language. Quasar seemed to grow more excited with each new revelation, but Zor became increasingly agitated and secretive. One night, Hicks overheard Zor speaking in hushed clicks to someone on comms. "Yes, General Kaz, I believe the Primus language is the key to weapons we can use to establish our dominance. But we must act soon, before the humans realize—" Hicks clenched his jaw. He had to get this information to Blackwell, but he couldn't risk blowing his cover, not yet. "Hicks, come look at this," Quasar called out, waving him over to a holographic star map. "I think we've pinpointed the location of the hidden system." As Hicks examined the map, he couldn't help but marvel at Quasar's brilliant mind. They may be different species, but he was starting to respect and even admire the Sheliak scientist. "Quasar, Hicks began, then hesitated. He wanted to warn his new friend about Zor's betrayal, but his mission came first. "I think you're onto something big here." Quasar's mandibles twitched in a Sheliak smile. "We're going to unlock the greatest linguistic mystery in the galaxy, Hicks. I can feel it." Hicks nodded, but inside, a sense of dread was growing. He had to find out what was in that hidden system before the Sheliak military could make their move. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy, hung in the balance. Hicks and Quasar burned the midnight oil, poring over the Primus texts and running linguistic analysis algorithms on the research facility's quantum supercomputer. Hicks rubbed his eyes, the glow of the holographic displays casting an eerie light on his face. "We're so close I can feel it," Quasar clicked, his mandibles twitching with excitement. "If we can just decipher this last set of equations—" A loud explosion rocked the facility, sending Hicks and Quasar tumbling to the ground. Alarms blared as smoke filled the corridors. A group of heavily armed Sheliak soldiers burst into the lab, led by none other than Zor. The traitorous linguist aimed his plasma rifle at Hicks. "Hand over the research, human," Zor demanded, "or watch your Sheliak friend die." Hicks gritted his teeth, his mind racing. He couldn't let Zor get his claws on the Primus language secrets. In a blur of motion, he lunged forward, disarming the nearest soldier with a swift kick. Plasma bolts sizzled past his head as he rolled behind a console, returning fire. Quasar scrambled for cover, his lab coat singed by a stray shot. Hicks knew he had to end this fast. He popped up from his position, firing with precision. 2 Sheliak soldiers crumpled to the ground. Zor let out a furious screech, launching himself at Hicks. They grappled for control of the rifle, crashing into equipment. Hicks head-butted the insectoid, stunning him long enough to wrench the weapon free. "Quasar, run!" Hicks yelled, laying down suppressing fire. He saw his friend hesitate, then dart for the exit. In the chaos, Hicks caught a glimpse of Zor snatching something from the main console. A glowing data crystal. His heart sank as he realized it contained the coordinates to the hidden system. Zor and his remaining soldiers beat a hasty retreat, leaving destruction in their wake. Hicks helped a shaken Quasar to his feet. "The data crystal, Zor has it," Quasar said, his voice trembling. "All our work—" "We'll get it back," Hicks assured him, holstering his pistol. "But first we need to get the hell out of here. Zor will be back with reinforcements." They fled the smoking ruins of the research facility, disappearing into the twisting alleys of Zaktar. In a dingy safehouse, Hicks contacted Admiral Blackwell over a secure channel. "Hicks, what the hell happened?" Blackwell demanded. "Damn it!" Blackwell slammed his fist on his desk. "I'm sending in a covert ops team led by Captain Reese. They'll extract you and recover that crystal." Hicks nodded, ending the transmission. He turned to Quasar. "We need to lie low until Reese arrives and see if we can get any of our loyal team members to help." Quasar tapped a few commands into his wrist computer. "Zan and Kral are on their way. They managed to grab some of our backed-up research data before escaping." As they waited for their allies to arrive, Hicks and Quasar huddled over the salvaged Primus language files, searching for any clues they might have missed. The secrets of the ancient civilization tantalized them, even as danger closed in. "There's mentions here of the Great Forge and the Crucible of Stars," Quasar said, his compound eyes widening. "Hicks, I think this system may be home to a highly advanced weapons facility." A chill ran down Hicks's spine. If General Kaz and Zor unlocked the hidden system first, they could gain an unbeatable technological advantage. The stakes had just gotten a hell of a lot higher. Zan and Kral arrived, grim determination etched on their insectoid faces. Together, the 4 of them began to scheme, planning a daring infiltration of the Sheliak military base to reclaim the stolen data crystal. Failure was not an option. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. Under the cover of darkness, Hicks, Quasar, Zan and Kral moved silently through the shadows of the Sheliak military base. The stolen uniforms clung to their bodies, the forged identification documents tucked securely in their pockets. Hicks signaled for the team to split up, his hand slicing through the air with practiced precision. Hicks and Quasar crept through the labyrinthine corridors, their footsteps muffled against the cold metal floor. The air was thick with tension as they navigated the twists and turns, their eyes scanning for any sign of the data crystal. Suddenly, a burst of plasma fire erupted from the end of the hall. Zor and his loyal soldiers emerged from the shadows, their weapons trained on Hicks and Quasar. Hicks reacted instantly, his body moving on instinct as he dove for cover. He pulled his pistol from its holster and returned fire, the air sizzling with the heat of plasma bolts. Quasar ducked behind a control panel, his claws flying over the keys as he hacked into the base's security systems. Hicks provided covering fire, his shots precise and deadly. One by one, Zor's soldiers fell, their bodies crumpling to the floor. With a triumphant click, Quasar accessed the base's schematics. "The data crystal is in Zor's private lab, 2 levels down," he said, his voice tight with urgency. As they raced through the corridors, the sound of explosions rocked the base. Hicks knew that Zan and Kral had succeeded in their mission to disable the communication array. But at what cost? They burst into Zor's lab, the door slamming open with a metallic clang. The data crystal sat on a pedestal in the center of the room, its surface glinting in the harsh light. Hicks snatched it up, tucking it securely into his pocket. Just as they turned to make their escape, the door slid open once more. General Kaz stood before them, flanked by a heavily armed contingent of Sheliak soldiers. Hicks and Quasar froze, their weapons aimed at the general's chest. "Surrender the data crystal," Kaz demanded, his voice dripping with malice, "and prepare for your immediate execution." Hicks glanced at Quasar, a silent understanding passing between them. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they would not go down without a fight. The standoff stretched on, the tension in the room reaching a breaking point. Hicks's finger tightened on the trigger, his mind racing as he sought a way out of this impossible situation. Just as Hicks's finger tightened on the trigger, the wall behind General Kaz erupted in a shower of rubble and dust. Captain Jack Reese and his UEG covert ops team poured through the breach, plasma rifles blazing. Sheliak soldiers scattered, caught off guard by the sudden assault. In the midst of the chaos, Hicks locked eyes with Kaz. "General, I challenge you to single combat in accordance with Sheliak tradition. The victor earns the loyalty of the loser's soldiers." Kaz's compound eyes gleamed with arrogance. "You dare challenge me, human? I will crush you like the insect you are." As Reese and his team engaged the Sheliak forces, Hicks and Kaz circled each other, their bodies tense with anticipation. Kaz lunged forward, his clawed hands slashing at Hicks's face. Hicks dodged, countering with a swift kick to Kaz's thorax. Quasar and Kral huddled over the data crystal, their claws flying over the holographic interface. "The final pieces are falling into place," Quasar said, his voice trembling with excitement. "The hidden system. It's not just a weapons facility. It's a repository of knowledge left behind by the Primus civilization." Hicks and Kaz traded blows, their fight a brutal dance of strength and skill. Hicks drew upon every ounce of his combat training, his muscles burning with exertion. Kaz was a formidable opponent, his insectoid body tough and resilient. But Hicks had something Kaz lacked: raw determination, forged in the fires of human tenacity. With a final decisive blow, Hicks sent Kaz crashing to the floor, the general's exoskeleton cracking under the impact. "Yield," Hicks panted, his boot pressed against Kaz's throat. Kaz glared up at him, hatred burning in his eyes, but he knew he was beaten. "I yield. My soldiers are yours to command." Reese and his team secured the base, rounding up Zor and his collaborators. Hicks and Quasar stood amidst the wreckage, the data crystal clutched tightly in Quasar's claws. "We did it," Quasar said, his voice filled with wonder. "The secrets of the Primus language, they're ours to uncover." Hicks clasped Quasar's shoulder, a gesture of friendship that transcended species. "Together, we'll face whatever the hidden system throws at us, as partners." As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, Hicks and Quasar shared a moment of quiet reflection. Their unlikely alliance had grown into something more, a bond forged in the heat of battle and the pursuit of knowledge. The future stretched out before them, a vast expanse of possibility and danger. With the Primus language as their guide, they would unlock the secrets of the hidden system and perhaps shape the destiny of the galaxy itself. But for now, they savored their hard-won victory, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. Hicks turned to Reese, his eyes hardening with resolve. "Captain, we need to move fast. Zor's treachery may have compromised the hidden system's location. We can't let this knowledge fall into the wrong hands." Determination. "The Primus system is our top priority. We can't let Kaz or anyone else beat us to it." The team moved quickly, loading up a sleek UEG stealth ship with supplies and equipment. Hicks gripped the data crystal tightly as he strapped into the pilot's seat. Quasar took the co-pilot controls, his compound eyes gleaming with anticipation. With a roar of the engines, they blasted off into the vast expanse of space, the coordinates of the hidden system locked into their nav computer. Kral and the UEG scientists huddled in the back, poring over the Primus language files. As they ventured into uncharted regions, the challenges came fast and hard. Hicks gritted his teeth as he wove through a treacherous asteroid field, the ship's hull groaning under the strain. No sooner had they cleared the asteroids when a fierce radiation storm engulfed them. Alarms blared as the ship shuddered, the hull temperature spiking dangerously. Hicks and Quasar worked in tandem, rerouting power to the radiation buffers. In the back, Kral yelped as a console exploded in a shower of sparks. "We can't take much more of this." Hicks glanced at the readouts, his brow furrowed. "Just a little longer, we're almost through." As if the universe itself was testing them, a swarm of alien creatures suddenly appeared on their scanners. Hicks had never seen anything like them, all teeth and tentacles, with a vicious cunning in their beady eyes. The creatures latched onto the hull, their razor-sharp appendages scrabbling for purchase. The ship lurched as they began to tear through the outer layers. "Quasar, reroute power to the hull electrification grid," Hicks barked, his hands a blur on the controls. The HFY scientist complied, and a crackling wave of energy pulsed across the ship's exterior. The creatures shrieked as they were burned away, their charred remains tumbling into the void. In the brief respite, Quasar turned to the human pilot, respect shining in his eyes. "I see now why Admiral Blackwell chose you for this mission. Your skills are most impressive." Hicks allowed himself a tight smile. "You're not so bad yourself, bug boy." As they journeyed on, Kral and the UEG team made a startling discovery. The Primus language, it seemed, was more than a simple means of communication. It's like a programming language," Kral said, his voice trembling with excitement. "The patterns, the structure, it's designed to interface with technology." The implications were staggering. If they could master this linguistic code, they could potentially control any Primus tech they encountered. Hope surged in Hicks's chest as the hidden system finally appeared on their view screen. A brilliant yellow star, orbited by a handful of lush, verdant worlds. But that hope quickly turned to dread as a massive HFY warship suddenly dropped out of hyperspace, weapons bristling along its armored hull. "Attention UEG vessel," a familiar voice crackled over the comm. "This is General Kaz. Surrender the data crystal and prepare to be boarded." "Kaz," he replied, his voice cold as the depths of space. "I thought I taught you a lesson about picking fights with humans." The general's laughter was harsh and grating. "You'll find I'm a slow learner, Hicks, and this time I've brought a few friends to the party." A swarm of HFY fighters poured from the warship's launch bays, their plasma cannons glowing with deadly intent. Hicks wrenched the ship into a steep dive, narrowly evading the opening salvo. The sleek vessel shuddered as Kaz's ship opened up with a barrage of missiles, the advanced warheads homing in on their prey. "Quasar evasive pattern Delta 5, Hicks yelled, his knuckles white on the controls. "Kral, divert all power to the rear shields." The ship jinked and juked, the inertial dampeners straining to compensate. A missile exploded just off their starboard side, bathing the cockpit in harsh white light. In the chaos of the space battle, Hicks knew they were outgunned and outmatched. Kaz's ship bristled with advanced weaponry, the likes of which he had never seen. But Hicks had something Kaz would never understand, the fierce, unbreakable bond of a team forged in the crucible of adversity. He glanced at Quasar, at Kral, at the determined faces of the UEG scientists. They had come too far, sacrificed too much to let Kaz win now. One way or another they would reach the hidden system and unlock the secrets of the Primus language. Even if it meant flying straight into the heart of the maelstrom. Hicks gritted his teeth as another volley of plasma fire rocked the ship. He wrenched the controls hard to port, sending them careening into the swirling depths of a nearby nebula. The cockpit lights flickered and dimmed as the cosmic dust swallowed them whole. "Reroute power to the shields," Hicks barked, his eyes locked on the sensor display. "And kill the engines. Let's see if we can't lose them in this soup." Quasar's claws danced over the controls, his brow furrowed in concentration. The ship groaned as the nebula's ionized gases lashed against the hull. In the back, Kral and the UEG scientists huddled over a sparking console, their faces bathed in the eerie glow of the Primus language files. "The knowledge we've gained from the language," Kral muttered, his compound eyes wide with wonder. I think we can use it to enhance our systems, make the ship faster, more maneuverable. Hicks glanced over his shoulder, a flicker of hope in his eyes. Do it and fast. Kaz won't give up that easily. As the team worked feverishly to repair and upgrade the ship, Hicks guided them deeper into the nebula's labyrinthine depths. The sensors were all but useless here, the cosmic interference rendering them blind. But Hicks was a pilot, first and foremost. He flew by instinct, letting the ship become an extension of his own body. They ducked and weaved through the nebula's twisting corridors, the hull groaning under the strain. Suddenly, Krell let out a triumphant chirp. I've got an idea. If we modify some of our probe droids with Primus-enhanced algorithms, we might be able to infiltrate Kaz's ship, sabotage his systems from within. The probe droids, now imbued with the power of the Primus language, slipped out of the ship's airlock and vanished into the nebula's swirling depths. Hicks held his breath, his knuckles white on the controls. Long minutes ticked by, the tension in the cockpit growing with each passing second. And then a flicker on the sensor display, a distress call garbled and weak, but unmistakable. Kaz's ship, crippled by the probe droid's sabotage, drifted helplessly on the edge of the nebula. Its weapons were offline, its engines sputtering and dying. They burst from the nebula like an avenging angel, the ship's enhanced engines roaring with power. Hicks rolled and spun, dodging the feeble bursts of point defense fire that Kaz's ship managed to muster. And then they were behind the Sheliak warship, its wounded flank exposed and vulnerable. Hicks's finger tightened on the trigger, a snarl of triumph on his lips. The ship's weapons unleashed a storm of fire, the concentrated barrage tearing through Kaz's weakened shields like paper. Explosions rippled across the warship's hull, venting atmosphere and debris into the void. Kaz's voice crackled over the comm, rage and desperation warring in his tone. "This isn't over, Hicks," he snarled, even as his ship listed and burned. "I'll hunt you to the ends of the galaxy." But Hicks was already gone, the ship's engines flaring as they left Kaz's crippled vessel behind. The general's threats faded into the static, impotent and hollow. "We did it," Quasar breathed, his voice soft with awe. "The hidden system, it's within our reach." As they approached the strange star at the heart of the hidden system, a massive artificial structure came into view. It hung in space like a great, gleaming jewel, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to dance and shift in the starlight. The ship's sensors trilled, a soft chime that made Hicks's heart race. The Primus language, embedded within their computers, was being scanned by the structure's ancient security systems. For a long, breathless moment, nothing happened, and then, with a soft hiss of hydraulics, the structure's defenses disengaged. A yawning portal irised open, beckoning them forward. Hicks glanced at his crew, at the faces of the beings who had become more than just allies but friends, beings who had fought and bled and sacrificed alongside him, all in the name of a greater purpose. "Let's go," he said, his voice ringing with resolve. "Let's see what secrets the Primus left behind." The ship glided forward, slipping into the structure's cavernous interior. And as they crossed the threshold, Hicks felt a thrill of excitement and trepidation course through his veins. For better or worse, they had reached the end of their journey, and whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. As Hicks and his team stepped into the ancient structure, their eyes widened in awe. The walls pulsed with an ethereal glow, illuminating intricate hieroglyphs that danced and shimmered as they passed. Quasar ran his claws along the surface, his compound eyes reflecting the mesmerizing patterns. "Incredible," he breathed, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. "The Primus language is everywhere, woven into the very fabric of this place." Together, Hicks and Quasar worked to decipher the controls, their minds racing as they unlocked the secrets of the repository. With each new interface they accessed, a wealth of information poured forth, revealing the staggering achievements of the primogenitors. "Gravity manipulation, energy control, space-time distortion," Hicks muttered, his eyes wide with wonder and disbelief. They were light years ahead of anything we've ever seen. As they delved deeper into the structure, The team found themselves drawn to a central chamber, where an enormous quantum computer dominated the space. Its surface shimmered with countless lights and symbols, pulsing in time with the energy that flowed through the entire repository. Quasar approached the machine, his claws flying over the interface as he wove the Primus language into its systems. The computer thrummed with power, its quantum processors whirring to life after eons of dormancy. Suddenly, a holographic figure materialized before them, its form composed of swirling lines of code and pulsing energy. "Greetings," it intoned, its voice resonating through the chamber. "I am Prometheus, the artificial intelligence created by the primogenitors to safeguard their knowledge and guide those who follow in their footsteps." Hicks and his team stood transfixed, their hearts racing as they realized the magnitude of their discovery. But before they could engage the AI in further conversation, a massive energy surge ripped through the structure, sending them staggering. Alarms blared and systems malfunctioned, the repository's ancient defenses awakening in response to an external threat. Hicks's blood ran cold as he realized the cause of the disturbance. "Zor," he growled, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon, "he's found us." On the viewscreens, a Sheliak fleet materialized, their ships bristling with weapons and hungry for conquest. At their head was Zor's vessel, a predatory gleam in its dark hull. "The repository will be ours, Hicks." Zor's voice crackled over the comm, dripping with malice and triumph. "You've led us right to the greatest prize in the galaxy." Hicks and his team braced themselves, knowing that the battle for the primogenitor legacy was about to begin. The fate of not just their own species, but the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. As the Sheliak fleet descended upon the ancient structure, like a swarm of angry hornets, plasma bolts and missiles slammed into the outer hull with relentless fury. Inside, Hicks and his team scrambled to action, their faces taut with tension, as the walls shook and sparks rained down from damaged conduits. "Prometheus!" Hicks shouted over the din of the attack. "We need those defenses online now!" The AI's holographic form shimmered, its voice calm and authoritative. "I am granting you access to the primogenitor's most advanced defensive technologies. Follow my guidance to activate the energy shields and weapon systems." Hicks and Quasar sprang into action, their hands flying over the ancient controls as Prometheus fed them instructions via their neural implants. The structure thrummed with power as dormant systems came to life, energy coursing through circuits that had lain silent for eons. Outside, the structure's exterior rippled and transformed, shimmering force fields snapping into place, as pulsating energy cannons emerged from hidden emplacements. The Sheliak fleet, caught off guard by the sudden display of advanced technology, faltered in their attack. Hicks allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction as the enemy ships scattered, their hulls scorched by the searing beams of the primogenitor cannons. But his triumph was short-lived as a panicked shout echoed through the chamber. "Kral's hit!" one of the UEG soldiers cried out, his voice tight with fear. Hicks whirled around to see Kral slumped against a wall, his exoskeleton cracked and oozing viscous fluid from a gaping wound. A group of Sheliak boarders lay dead nearby, their weapons still smoking. Without hesitation, Hicks rushed to Kral's side, hefting the wounded Sheliak into his arms. "Hang on, buddy," he muttered, his jaw clenched with determination. "We're not losing you." Quasar provided covering fire as Hicks carried Kral to the central chamber, where Prometheus waited, the quantum computer's interface pulsing with urgency. "Place him here," the AI instructed, indicating a sleek metallic platform. "I will utilize the repository's advanced medical technology to stabilize his condition." As Hicks gently laid Kral on the platform, a web of glowing tendrils emerged, enveloping the Sheliak's body in a cocoon of healing energy. The soldier's ragged breathing eased, and the flow of fluid from his wounds slowed to a trickle. Hicks turned to Quasar, his eyes hard with resolve. "We can't let Zor win, we have to end this now." Quasar nodded, his mandibles twitching with anticipation. "Agreed, but how?" "The repository's teleportation system," Prometheus interjected, its holographic form shimmering with purpose. I can guide you in bypassing the defenses of Zor's flagship. Confront him directly, and you may force a surrender. Hicks and Quasar exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They knew the risks, but they also knew that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. As Prometheus fed them the necessary coordinates and activation sequences, Hicks and Quasar stepped onto the teleportation platform, their weapons primed and ready. In a flash of blinding light, they vanished. Their atoms disassembled and reassembled on the bridge of Zor's ship. Chaos erupted as Hicks and Quasar materialized amid the startled Sheliak crew. Zor's personal guard leapt to action, their plasma rifles unleashing a hail of searing bolts. But Hicks and Quasar were faster, their movements fluid and precise as they dodged and weaved, returning fire with deadly accuracy. In a matter of seconds, the guard lay dead or dying, their weapons clattering to the deck. Hicks advanced on Zor, his pistol aimed squarely at the treacherous Sheliak's head. "It's over, Zor," Hicks growled, his finger tightening on the trigger. "Surrender and order your fleet to stand down." Zor's compound eyes widened, his mandibles quivering with rage and desperation. He glanced at the view screen where the ancient structure stood firm against the onslaught of his ships, its defenses impenetrable. With a hiss of defeat, Zor slumped back in his command chair, his claws tapping out the surrender code. "All ships, cease fire," he clicked, his voice heavy with bitterness. "Withdraw from the system." As the Sheliak fleet disengaged, Hicks and Quasar exchanged a look of weary triumph. They had won the day, but the cost had been high, and they knew that the secrets of the primogenitors, now within their grasp, would change the galaxy forever. With Zor defeated and securely in UEG custody, Hicks and Quasar rushed back to the ancient repository, the rest of the team close behind. As they entered the cavernous structure, their hearts sank. The once gleaming walls were scorched and cracked, debris littering the floor. Consoles flickered and sputtered, damaged by the ferocious battle. Prometheus's holographic form materialized before them, its avatar dimmer and less stable than before. "I'm afraid the repository has suffered extensive damage," the AI said, its voice laced with static. "Many of the knowledge banks have been compromised. We're at risk of losing everything." Hicks and Quasar exchanged a worried glance. They'd come so far, sacrificed so much. They couldn't let the primogenitor's legacy slip away now. Suddenly an alarm blared through the chamber, red light pulsing in warning. "The repository's power core has been destabilized," Prometheus reported, its tone grave. "If it overloads, the resulting explosion will annihilate this entire system." Hicks's blood ran cold. He knew they had to act fast. "What can we do to stop it?" he asked, his voice tight. "The only way is a full manual shutdown of the core," Prometheus replied. "But the process must be initiated from within the core chamber itself, and once begun, there will be no time to escape." A heavy silence fell over the group. They all understood what the AI was saying. Someone would have to stay behind. Someone would have to die. Hicks and Quasar looked at their friend, their hearts heavy. They wanted to argue, to find another way. But deep down they knew Kral was right. "Are you sure about this?" Quasar asked softly, his compound eyes glistening. Hicks clasped the Sheliak's shoulder, emotion welling in his chest. "We won't forget this, Kral. What you're doing here, it won't be in vain." As the rest of the team made their way back to the ship, Hicks and Quasar helped Kral navigate the crumbling corridors to the core chamber. The Sheliak scientist moved with purpose, his claws flying over the alien controls as he initiated the shutdown sequence. With a final anguished look, Hicks and Quasar turned and ran, racing through the collapsing structure toward the hangar bay. As they sprinted up the ramp of their waiting ship, the comm crackled to life. "Hicks, Quasar, thank you," Kral's voice came through, steady and clear. "For everything, your friendship, your trust, it's meant more than you can know." Hicks swallowed hard, his eyes stinging. "The honor was ours, Kral," he managed, his voice rough. "We'll never forget you." As the ship blasted away from the repository, Hicks and Quasar watched through the view screen, their hearts in their throats. The ancient structure seemed to shudder, cracks spreading across its surface like a spider web. And then, in a blinding flash of light and energy, it detonated. The explosion ripped through the surrounding celestial bodies, destroying any trace of the primogenitor's existence, of Kraal's final resting place. In the silence that followed, Hicks and Quasar could only sit, numb and heartsick, as their ship carried them back toward UEG space. They had succeeded in their mission, but the cost had been so high. Too high. As the days passed and the light years fell away behind them, Hicks and Quasar grappled with the weight of all they had learned, all they had lost, the Primus language, the primogenitors. It had never been about the technology, they realized. Not really. What mattered was the connection, the understanding, the potential for different species, different cultures to find common ground, to work together. That was the true legacy of the Primus language, and as Hicks and Quasar exchanged a look of quiet determination, they knew that it was a legacy they would carry forward. In Kraal's name, in the name of all they had lost and all they had gained. A new chapter, written in the language of the universe itself. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.